And this is a Fox News.
Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is November 16th, 2017. So I'm going to guess that many of you that have clicked onto this title have a little bit of understanding for what we're about to bring to you in discussion. It's kind of everywhere right now. It's like a mud fest where everybody is getting down and slinging the mud. And we are going to break down to you who deserves to have the mud thrown in the face.
Yeah, so I did have a thought right before we went live, and that is most likely Al Franken is having a worse day than you.
Probably.
Today.
Yeah.
Which should put a smile on your face.
Safe to say.
I'm sorry if any of you are suffering from a terminal disease or something like that.
True. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I'm praying for you. But this guy he woke up today and he was yesterday he was wanting to censor right-wing conservatives, wondering why Google allowed Alex Jones to come at the top of search results. He was grandstanding, talking about Harvey Weinstein and sexual assault, and he was just riding a wave. And then his surfboard crashed. And then a shark came and bit him.
Yeah.
Well, and he's the thing. Bleeding. Now, the doctors don't know if Al Franken will survive this or not.
I don't think he can survive this.
He may. Crazier things have happened. I do apologize for the picture on the front, but we decided to
go big or go home.
We technically
are.
Let the grope speak for itself.
Here's the thing: he has come out very magnanimously apologetic. I'm so sorry. I can't believe it. This is so awful. I can't believe I did that.
Oh, that photo. Oh, that photo.
Oh, the photo. Yes, about the photo, Al. Let's talk about that photo. Now, here's the thing, Al. You knew that photo existed. All right, now.
Everyone got a CD of that photo, by the way, who's on that trip.
Yeah, and it was all over the internet. So here's the thing, Al. I have a sneaking suspicion that when all of these people were outed, like Weinstein and, Bob Mendenez and everyone, when all of this stuff came out, you probably started thinking to yourself, if I'm next, what am I going to do? How am I going to respond? And you decided, you know what? I'm going to take the high road. While all of these other people may be denying it or not even giving a public statement, I am going to come out and say, yes, what I did was awful and I'm ready for my punishment. I'm so sorry. This is horrific. Men should
I want the Senate Ethics Committee to investigate me.
Yes, I want them to investigate me. Well, let me tell you something, Al. If you're so pro women's rights and you're so pro having all of these things looked into and taken care of, as soon as like Weinstein was uncovered, maybe you could have stepped forward. Hey, it was me. I did something like this. Let me give you all of my evidence.
You know what? If that was the case, that would be totally different.
And I would have been like, dude, that is so cool.
Right.
Because I got to tell you, if I was you, I would be thinking along the same lines.
Right.
How am I going to get out of this? Maybe I should just come out now.
So he actually issued an apology when he was running for Senate for a joke he made when he was going to be on Saturday Night Live, a rape joke. But then he came back once he was elected and said a comic never apologizes for the joke, but I knew that in order to run for the Senate, I had to apologize. So
now you're a liar.
We know that his apologies don't mean anything.
Disingenuous.
The left is, most of the left is rightfully putting him under the bus. Some of them are so weird. He apologized. We're done. Let's move on.
Right.
Alert, another public figure being accused of inappropriate sexual behavior. A television host and sports
yes,
is now accusing Al Franken of kissing and groping her without her consent back in 2006 while they were on a USO tour. Tweeden also offered a photo as evidence of the incident. It shows Franken apparently reaching for her while she is asleep. So far, no response from Franken, but he has been a harsh
We
critic of
do
others
have
who have been accused of harassment.
his response.
And
Yeah.
I should say that just in the last couple of seconds, the senator did tweet this. He said, "I sincerely do not remember the rehearsal for the skit in the same way, but I send my sincerest apologies to Leanne.
Apologies,
As
man.
for the photo, it was clearly intended to be funny, but it wasn't. I shouldn't have done it." She goes on to say that during the rehearsals, she was trying to avoid kissing the man who was then a senator. He apparently, according to her, forced a kiss that she did not want. We are working off.
It gets worse than that.
It gets worse. So here's the thing. Kel Bell says, does anyone else think that it's much worse because she's sleeping? How freaky. Yes, it is much worse because she's sleeping, and it is freaky. However, I have a sneaking suspicion that he would not have done it if she had not been sleeping.
So, yeah, about that. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about Roy Moore, and we talk about, like, this guy C.K. Lewis, or Louis C.K., whatever, when we talk about Bill Clinton.
Frankenstein. It's like Frankenstein. That's good.
Yeah, he
Weinstein, Frankenstein. They
cool.
put them together. I like that. Cecilian Gal put that together.
So, when we look at the different people that are being thrown under the bus, right now, the only one that the left and the right are calling to step down
Is Roy Moore.
Now, Bob Menendez...
I think that he must have some very serious allegations and photos like this that would make them want him to step down as opposed to other people that have facts, right? So they really do have a massive pile of evidence against him, right?
Proof against Roy Moore.
They don't have any proof?
None.
And
whatsoever.
they want him to step down?
And actually, several of the accusations have been proven to be to have tweaks and lies. Like,
let's talk about the yearbook.
The yearbook.
And his signature at the end.
His signature at the end.
Where it says DA. Does that mean district attorney?
No.
It doesn't?
No. That was the initials that his assistant, those are his assistant's initials, DA. Now, in 1999, Roy Moore was the judge in a divorce case for the Nelson woman.
Who has accused him.
Of doing something to her behind a parking lot
when she was
16. Now, she said that she hadn't seen him since, but he ruled against her in a divorce case. Now, you would probably remember that a guy who molested you was the ruling party in your divorce case, ruling against you. So you probably would have wanted to make that known in 1999.
Also, I think from a legal standpoint, when Roy is asked, I don't even think he's asked as a judge, it's kind of understood. Do you have any reason that you should be recused from this specific thing? And I think knowing the party is enough grounds.
Absolutely.
Much less having been accused or knowing that you had a relationship or an attack.
So in 18 years ago, 1999.
So was her lawyer just that stupid?
Well, it's Gloria Aldridge, who is an ambulance chaser for feminists and
no, I mean
assault.
the lawyer in the divorce case.
Oh,
not knowing to say, you know what, she's been attacked from this judge, and we need to ask for another judge.
Right, you would think that if she was so traumatized to the point of tears, she would pick another judge.
Because when she was giving her allegations this time, I mean, she was very broken up about what
her stepson has come out and said, you know what, my stepmama, she's lying through her teeth. Now, that's one particular craziness. Gloria Aldridge, the lawyer, actually was grilled by Wolf Blitzer, and I'll get to some of these in a second, and asked, why don't you produce the yearbook for forensic analysis so we can do some handwriting analysis and she said, only if the Senate does a hearing and everybody's under oath. And so she's stalling right now because that's not going to happen.
Right.
And you can definitely tell that there's two different handwritings there. So there's something fishy going on there. Now, he was also, when we're talking about Roy Moore and allegations against Roy Moore versus, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the allegations of Roy Moore versus Bill Clinton.
Bob Menendez,
who is actually under trial. He has a hung jury trial today. Now, he was actually under trial for corruption, and the jury couldn't come to a conclusive conclusion today. So we're not sure if the government is actually going to retry it. They can retry a mistrial. His co-defendant was actually found guilty of like 67 counts of corruption. But this was back in like May or I'm going to get my dates wrong on that. But anyways, his co-defendant was found guilty. So somebody in that trial found him guilty because it's a mistrial, hung jury. Anyways, there's no one is calling for him to step down, even though there's allegations of him doing sex trade things going on. The allegations versus these guys and Bill Clinton, who said, Juanita Broderick says he raped me. Chelsea Handler comes out today or yesterday and says, I believe you. And Juanita Broderick says, oh, thank you. And the left is kind of putting Bill Clinton under the bus right now because they have to. Right. And it's all focused on Roy Moore, which is so weird. Why are we talking about a small little Alabama Senate race for a Christian who wants to put the Ten Commandments behind the wall, who wants to put prayer back in schools,
right?
And it takes a hard stance against the Clintons, against Mitch McConnell, against the swamp. If this is set up by the swamp, this is one of the dirtiest, ugliest things that you've ever seen. Now, there's always a bit of truth in a lie.
Yeah.
Okay? So there is truth to
him
some
dating
of these
younger girls.
Accusations. Now they're calling these women, there's now 8 accusers. Now, to put this in perspective, one of the accusers said that he dated her with her mother's permission at 17. Who knows when she was going to turn 18, for 2 or 3 months, and he kissed her 2 times. Now, if that's one of your accusers,
that doesn't
an idiot.
Exactly count as an accuser.
Because you may not...
I consensually dated him when it was legal,
right.
And my mom said, okay.
Right.
You bad man.
Another one of his accusers said that he came up to her while she was working in the mall in her 20s and asked for her phone number.
And he was very creepy. She said it was just creepy.
And she was dating somebody at the time, and he came back through her shopping center once or twice and chit-chatted with her.
And that's creepy.
And that's another one of
now,
his
she
accusers.
also states that she got him banned from the mall. And the manager of that time, I think,
came
back
video.
and said,
that's not true.
We never banned Roy Moore from coming to the mall.
These 2 women, for sure, there's lies.
Liars.
Okay, and so there's...
But it's not an accusation to call a guy creepy. I mean, did he touch you?
No, but he asked for my phone number.
Well,
But see, and this is what lines...
Strap him in irons.
But this is what lines up with the left and their crazy hypocrisy, because you guys know who Gloria Steinem is. She is this huge feminist. Well, when the accusations came out against Bill Clinton in the 90s, she wrote a huge, long op-ed, and I think I might have right here. This is Bill Clinton, A Reckoning. This is from The Atlantic. This is the left-wing article. And it goes on to talk about how Gloria Steinem, this right here, feminists in the Clinton question, it's not her harassment, and we're not hypocrites. So when Gloria Steinem said that when Paula Jones was brought up to a hotel room where she had never met Bill Clinton before, and he whips out his willy and says, would you blah, 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 blah. You know what Gloria Steinem says? Gloria Steinem says that is a pass, and she said no.
You know what a pass is? You're looking very beautiful. Can we have coffee?
A pass is, hey, I think you're kind of nice. Can I have your phone number? So Roy Moore, that's a pass. People actually don't usually get together throughout history unless men make passes. Okay? It's not creepy.
Well,
it can't be creepy.
But it can be creepy. There's nothing illegal about creepy.
Right, exactly.
Unless you're actually a creep.
This is how the human race continues on.
Right.
All right?
So, hang on. Gonzalez says, is Roy Moore ahead in the polls? He is 10 points ahead in the polls,
depending
roughly.
on the polls. The last poll I saw on the Drudge was that he was like 9 points behind. The poll I saw before that was that he was 9 points ahead. So I don't trust the polls right now because they're not right on. But I do know that the pastors are coming out with saying that they stand behind him. And this is a tricky thing for Christians because the news is not actually portraying what these women are accusing him of.
Right.
Now, in Clinton's case, they didn't portray what the women were accusing Bill Clinton of either. And as Britt Hume pointed out today,
or was that last night on Tucker?
Well, there's a lot of different things going on right now. One particular one I'm talking about, I have some of these tweets up. I don't know what he says. Few will remember, but in 1999, NBC's Lisa Myers interviewed Juanita Broadwick about the Clinton tape. NBC sat on the story for weeks. Members of Fox News special report panel wore buttons saying "Free Lisa Myers." So if this was Roy Moore, there's no sitting on tapes.
Right.
It's all out there. So this is the huge hypocrisy of the left, who literally rallies behind Bill Clinton. Why? Because he's corrupt, because he believes that you can kill babies. He is one of the most perverted people in history.
Right.
And his wife ran for president.
Right.
How is this even possible?
So Affy Lover says, America permitted Bill Clinton to unabashedly use the power of his office to commit sexual assault. Sexual assault was modeled as an acceptable form of behavior, and we are all living the consequences.
You are absolutely correct, because we came out hard against Donald Trump because of his accusations, because of the things against him. The rubber hit the road, all right? I saw Donald Trump make a turn and make a change. And as Christians, if somebody makes a turn and makes a change, you look at the fruit, you look at what's happening, and I also looked at, I saw all these decent, awesome people saying, we know he's a flawed candidate, but he's working for us as people, and he's not that same guy. Okay, in the White House right now, I guarantee you, he's not going to do something with an intern with a cigar.
Right.
I know that.
Right.
He is not a racist. He's not a white supremacist. Okay? These are things that I know for a fact. I just know.
Republic of Texas says this is a tactic that can take down anyone just from an accusation. No facts nor legal report filed. Homosexuals will use this next.
Well, absolutely. So when we're getting back to the Roy Moore here, this is Barnes Boyle, the Garston Mall manager. Okay? So on Monday, several liberal news outlets, including the Alabama.com, the New Yorker, and the Daily Beast, reported that Judge Roy Moore was banned from the Gadsden Mall in the 80s after he repeatedly attempted to pick up teenage girls. The story went viral, including a mention by the Drudge Report. Now, the Drudge is going 100% against Bannon. For some reason, he hates that Bannon's trying to drain the swamp. I don't understand why. But anyways, this man says... told Fox News 6 in Alabama that Roy was never banned from the mall, and you can watch this this video if you want to. When we get back to Al Franken, okay, so we're looking at a pattern.
The monster.
Okay, Roy Moore has been serving God. He's been using the Ten Commandments.
He has put his very career on the line to have the 10 Commandments behind him, to have prayer put back in school, things like that. And yet they still think that somehow he's hiding all of these skeletons in his closet.
So, flashback, Daily Wire says, Al Franken jokes about drugging 60 Minutes host and taking pictures of her. So, in 1995, a Saturday Night Live writing session, Franken reportedly joked about drugging and raping the cast of 60 Minutes. Should I mention... And you know what? I'm not even going to read it. But there was a gag, a rape gag, and that's coming back to the front.
Because you know what? Rape gags are always great.
I don't really want to play this whole thing, but I'm going to play a second of it because I've seen this a lot of times because people bring it up a lot. This is Al Franken joking, doing like a roast on Rob Reiner, but he jokes about him molesting his own son, and these...
You don't do that.
As a baby, Rob was routinely beaten by his father, Carl. On a typical night, Carl would slip into Rob's bed, roll him over, swab him down, and say something like, "I'm thinking about hiring Maury Amsterdam to play Buddy Sorrell. What do you think?" Well, the success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
So he's saying, oh, your dad invited a bunch of friends to come and F you. That's where his mind goes.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that there's a pattern of perversion in this person's mind.
Right.
Where he's joking about rape.
Right.
Where he's joking about little infants being raped by men.
Right.
This is not a funny thing. But it's funny now watching you sink because you're a jerk and disgusting pervert. So then he also jokes. He says, Democrat Al Franken jokes about gay men's murder. I don't like homosexuals. Was glad when putting homosexual got killed. That's another thing that people... It's just weird. I don't know why. Some things that...
And that was in like 1978 though.
Right.
But still, I mean, that shows a pattern, a historical pattern.
Right. Exactly. So when we see this yearbook, there's definitely 2-color inks. And remember, in 1999, in a divorce case, she has a paper with a signature of Roy Moore.
And it has his assistant's initials on it. That's RDA.
Right. And he's like, Roy says, I don't recall ever using DA. He wasn't even the DA at that time.
Why would he sign it DA if he wasn't DA at the time?
Exactly. He's like, you can tell that this part right here is not him. Whether he wrote to a beautiful...
So it says Love Roy Moore DA 12/22/77.
And what this kind of looks like to me...
It is not the same.
It actually looks
handwriting.
like it says Roy... And then she put in more DA and then the date.
Because this is a different color even.
So it looks like Moore is totally different.
Right.
In my opinion, somebody named Roy signed her yearbook.
Yes.
Okay? And she put in, well, I could throw him under the bus if I just kind of put more. But it was a really bad idea.
Because it doesn't, some handwriting analysis, an analyst is going to be able to look at this. These O's, I'm not a handwriting analyst, but those O's are different than that too, right there even.
This particular portion right here.
And the love,
is
that
different,
O is different
than this.
Yeah.
Okay? So maybe Roy did sign
look at that O there.
And I don't know.
The O in Roy, it doesn't even look the same.
So obviously who wrote this isn't the person who writes like this.
Because this is a very narrow, this is the type of person, so what she was trying to do
big.
was create the big M.
Right.
Right? And then she changed it to print so that it wouldn't quite be as different. But you can't just throw a big letter without realizing that this,
and honestly,
my Nana,
this whole thing doesn't look right.
My Nana had handwriting like this. I know this handwriting really well. It gets super duper small, and then you get like a T in there, and then it gets small and illegible again. That is very, very legible.
This is a woman. Usually women write like this.
Yeah, that is very bubbly.
Bubbly. Women write in like a bubble type thing.
Yeah.
So maybe Roy did sign it, but he signed it Roy. Maybe she filled it in. Maybe a Roy signed it. And she's like, I have an idea. So Wolf Blitzer gets on... see if this will play. Obviously, sometimes when YouTube videos get taken down for copyrights. But Wolf Blitzer asks Gloria Aldridge if she will say flatly that yearbook inscription isn't a forgery. Aldridge refuses to say this even when pressed by Blitzer.
Wow.
And actually, that's a really interesting clip. So I'm going to bring that to you guys because we want to analyze for real. Like, listen, if we put George Bush under the bus, I supported him 100%, but he came out with a pattern of lying and deceiving, and there's millions of people dead because of him.
Right.
Okay? And so, yeah, I'm going to believe somebody who comes out with this, sexual assaults things, like the older Bush is now, touching girls on the bum, saying dirty jokes, right?
Yep.
But it's going to take me a minute. I'm not a fair weather friend. Right. Somebody came out against Sylvester Stallone today. I don't believe that one. I don't believe it.
Right.
And you can believe who you guys want to believe. If proof isn't put out there, then you are allowed to believe who you want to believe.
And that's the thing. These people are all being tried in the court of public opinion.
Right.
If Roy Moore has accusers, so far, any of the accusations that have come out against him are not going to put him in jail, even if proved true.
Young Nelson. Gloria, thanks for joining us. So what's your response to Roy Moore's lawyers? Did you hear a denial of Beverly Nelson's claims or just serious questions?
Let me get to the yearbook part here.
Please conduct a hearing within the next 2 weeks regarding credibility.
I think it's at the end.
Issue, and people can...
Case, because at the news conference the other day when you were there with her, she never mentioned that that Judge Moore was in fact the judge in that divorce proceeding.
There's a lot that she didn't mention in her statement, including perhaps other witnesses that she may have, or other evidence that she may have, which is corroborative and supportive of her.
Not really.
So let's get it on with the hearing.
What's
and,
a hearing?
you know, Judge Moore is very capable of putting forward any what's more important than, frankly, the court of...
But Gloria, just acknowledge whether or not she knew that he was the divorce judge in that 1999 case. Did she appear before him? Was she aware that Judge Moore was the judge in that divorce proceeding?
All of these questions will be answered at
Well, why
a Senate
can't you
hearing.
answer that now? It's a simple question.
Because this is not a Senate hearing, last time I checked. And we're not going to put everything out there unless and until
but Gloria,
there is a Senate hearing.
It's a simple question whether or not she knew he was the judge in that divorce proceeding. We'll go back to the records, but I assume you've discussed this with her.
Well, of course, I never would disclose what I would discuss with a client that might be attorney-client.
This is a joke. Look at this woman. This is a joke.
Not discussed at the press conference. And she did not discuss it one way or another. And there's a lot that Senator, I should say, former Judge Roy Moore has not discussed and tried to discredit. It's not going
to our viewers right now, Gloria, that the signature, what he wrote in that yearbook in 1977, according to her, can you say flatly that was not a forgery?
Okay, so we want to look at this. And see the /DA.
Those are just initials.
Those are stamped initials from his assistant. So if you're trying to copy this, you're trying to put DA. Obviously, it doesn't even match that person's DA. But somebody thinks that he signs it DA. He wasn't the DA. So this is definitive proof, in my opinion, that it's a forgery.
Right.
Because you're trying to do something and somebody comes and says, I never signed like that.
Right.
I never put a DA. I wasn't even the DA at the time.
Right.
But they were literally, she thought because of the divorce proceedings that he signed his initials DA.
But this Roy doesn't even look the same as this Roy. I mean, it just doesn't. It does not look the same. The Y looks different, and there is that curly Q in the O there that is not here. The R is different. Look at this big sweep here, and there's kind of a loop there, and then there's a kind of a curve out there that's not here. I mean, I don't know.
This particular part is what really sticks out.
Right.
So anyways, let's listen to what she has to say.
Well, all I'm saying is we will permit an independent examiner of the writing to look at exemplars of former Judge twice removed from the Alabama Supreme Court judge on account of ethical violations, according to the ethics committee in that state. We will allow all of this to be asked and answered at the hearing.
But that's not a flat denial, Gloria.
Well, all I'm saying is we're not denying, we're not admitting, we're not addressing. We will not be distracted. And we will pursue a just result for our client.
But why do you need a Senate hearing on this? Why not just permit an independent handwriting examiner to go back, look at the yearbook, and see if it was genuine, that signature, or a forgery?
Well, all I can say is that we want it done in a professional setting to the extent possible. That's the only setting in which people can testify under oath. And that's what we think is most important. And
she thinks that her client lying under oath is cool. So she's like, it'll just be in congressional record that my client lied. You know what I mean? And that's going to be her proof. Right. Is her client's word. Now, listen, they tried to throw all kind of Clinton accusers under the bus.
Right.
And so
Hillary Clinton even got off a rapist.
Exactly. I'm not about throwing victims under the bus. This woman is not a victim of anything.
All right, so Mark Shear says Gloria Allred is a legal prostitute for a certain kind of man-hating feminism and has been for years.
Preach it. Preach it.
A lot of the bad behavior is learned. Some guys think that they are supposed to come on extremely aggressively to women. It's macho. But, and you're right, some guys do think that. But in the case of Roy Moore, there isn't a historical pattern of this. There's, you know what I mean? And so his historical pattern was asking the girls' mothers if he could take them out on a date.
Right.
The accusations haven't even been proven. Right. That, but you're talking about Bill Clinton, that was a little bit more than aggressive passing.
Exactly. He said, Juanita Broderick says that he raped her. 2 women said that he exposed themselves and things like that. So I want to listen to Roy Moore's words here for a second.
Do us that favor. We understand that Judge Roy Moore, for a moment.
Some are avoiding addressing. I haven't had one question from the press or the media about issues in this case since these allegations have occurred. What is important is how we address the future of this country. About cutting taxes, rebuilding our military, repealing Obamacare, and putting good judges and justices on the federal and Supreme Court of the United States. We've got to stop judicial supremacy or we're losing our form of government.
I'm looking at Roy Moore's wife. And I think she knows. She knows. I just see innocence on her face.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Innocence.
Many of you have recognized that this is an effort by Mitch McConnell and his cronies to steal this election from the people of Alabama, and they will not stand for it. They overcame $30 million and voted me in the primary. And now they're trying a different tactic. The other day we got a call from one big magazine that you all recognize if I say the name. I don't want to say it. But they got a call and asked me to step down from the campaign. Well, I want to tell you who needs to step down. That's Mitch McConnell. There have been comments about me taking a stand. Yes, I have taken a stand in the past. I'll take a stand in the future. And I'll quit standing when they lay me in that box and put me in the ground. I'm proud to stand with people that I see behind me and with people of Alabama to bring forth the truth to Washington, D.C. Not just about what we stand for, but what the people of this country stand for. An acknowledgement of God, an acknowledgement of the Constitution, an acknowledgement that we need moral value back in our country, and without God, we can never succeed. I want to thank you for coming here. I want to close with just saying, may God bless you, bless the state of Alabama, and the United States of America. Thank you.
So,
righteous man.
If Roy Moore is guilty of something, he dated 17, 18, and 19-year-olds as a 30-year-old.
Right.
And that's the tricky part. Now, if you find that immoral, you can find that immoral.
Sure.
There are people who it's legal to smoke pot in certain states, but if they cross that line, it's illegal.
Right.
So in Alabama, the age of consent, and there was no age to date, by the way, but the age to consent was 16. So he didn't break the law in Alabama. He could go to another state where the age is 18, and if he had slept with somebody, that would be against the law.
Right.
Okay, so we are on, but here's the thing. He's been married to the same woman for, gosh, I can't remember. I think it was like 30 some odd years or something like that. I don't know. And he's been righteous and living the straight and narrow. We do know that the one other woman that accuses him that he asked out was in her 20s. But what
was she accusing him of? Just being creepy.
And the thing of it is that her testimony is really weird. Her testimony, she was interviewed and she said that Roy Moore was in his 30s. Well, he was like 30 or 32 when she was in her 20s. And she says he might as well been 40 or 50
to me.
And I'm like, dude, I remember being in my 20s. People in their early 30s were not super old. Like, I am 36.
But guess what?
I have friends in their 20s. I don't see myself as like creepily older than somebody 24 or
if
25.
Somebody in their 40s had asked you out when you were 20, would you have felt like they were like going to assault you?
No, I went to Rhema Bible Training Center. There was a lot of cross-generational dating going on there.
Yes.
And it was just a thing. People just did it.
Right.
You know.
Does it make it right?
No,
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with, but that's my personal preference.
Right.
Okay. That's what I wouldn't do. That's not what I would want my children to do.
And I can,
or my friends.
I can look at somebody and say, well, I find that morally reprehensible. One of my friends, when she was in her early 20s, like 20, 21.
She married like a 45-year-old guy.
Yeah, with 3 kids. She's my friend.
From Rhema.
And I find that, you know, a little bit odd, a little bit weird, but do your thing, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's not illegal. I'm going to judge them on the content of their character.
Right. Hang on. I want to get to Where the Look says Hillary called half the nation deplorable, had thousands of emails leaked, plus so much more, and then doesn't understand why she lost.
That's good.
And that's kind of where we're at on this. The reason why they are coming so hard at the people that are supposed to replace the swamp creatures, like Roy Moore, it all goes back to Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely.
In all honesty, it really, really does.
So I wanted to point out something else. Look at where this information is coming from against Roy Moore. Gloria Aldridge, her daughter, her daughter is Lisa Bloom. Now, Lisa Bloom is also another one of these feminazi crazies, but she was the first lawyer that was Harvey Weinstein's lawyer. She finally dropped out.
That's right.
But
I forgot about that.
She was the one who helped him try to get into some help and stuff like that. So this is not a good family to be looking at, okay?
Kel Bell says 40 years ago that was no big deal. And I have to admit, it wasn't as big of a deal back then as it is now. I still don't agree with it.
It makes me a little uncomfortable. He married somebody who was 23. And that's a little bit different. She was a divorced mom with a single daughter. And he has like 5 kids, and they're a wonderful Christian family. I also wanted to bring this up because it's illegal to touch someone sexually through their clothing on a military base, and so that's actually illegal. So Senator Al Franken, actually, I don't know the statute of limitations, but that was illegal, like militarily illegal.
Right.
So I wanted to bring that up. Now,
and we begin tonight with
this is another real weird twist. There is a slush fund for sexual impropriety in Congress, and I just want you to hear what Laura Ingraham has to say.
Continuing angle. Last night, we were the first and only primetime show to bring you the outrageous story about a largely unknown congressional slush fund. One that, as Sean just referenced, has paid out about $15.2 million in taxpayer money to victims of sexual harassment and misconduct perpetrated by members of Congress. You'd be shocked to know that some current members aren't even aware that the fund exists.
Do you support this shush fund, as it's being called?
No, I had no idea that it existed. I'm like you. This seems like
you don't know it existed if you don't need it.
You didn't know this fund existed, Congressman Jordan?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that was how it worked. You just did not know.
Last night, we played for you some of the explosive testimony of Representatives Jackie Speier and Barbara Comstock, Democrat and Republican. They maintain, among other things, that they know for a fact that there are current members who have engaged in sexually inappropriate behavior. So my question tonight is this: why aren't they naming names? Why aren't others naming names? And I'm not the only one asking these questions and demanding real.
Mitch McConnell says that Roy Moore, without any proof, without anything being paid out,
right,
would be immediately removed from Congress.
Correct.
However, $15 million.
Whoa.
Do you know how many babies that could feed? How many, little loaves of bread and fishes could be handed out to people? But instead, that $15 million is going to cover up people who you sexually harassed and molested. Are you kidding me?
Answers.
I think it's good to get this stuff out and name them. Just get it out and lay it out and change the rules so that people feel like they can come to work without being harassed. And those who do these things need to be held accountable.
You want to know who they are?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, he's right, of course. And
he didn't actually look real excited about it.
This was his sure. Sure.
Yes, it is good that congresswomen are speaking out about this, and some congressmen.
This is
but
hilarious.
the refusal to identify the members accused of misconduct is, I think, in itself enabling. Yeah. Aren't they kind of, in a sense, complicit in the cover-up?
Yeah.
I know it sounds harsh, but don't they have an obligation to reveal wrongdoing on the part of their colleagues?
Yeah.
Especially if the misconduct is directed against young, vulnerable staffers. And doesn't leadership have something to say about this? By the way, we all have a right to know. They work for us. And we, the taxpayers, are footing the bill for this absurd shush fund. You're supposed to not talk about it. Well, we want to know the details of these settlements. We want the time, place, and manner of the misconduct.
I do.
I want the names of the members accused. It is totally unacceptable for Congress to operate under a different set of rules than everybody else. Whether it's the type of health care they vote to give themselves, or the amount of time off they get, or the way they get to use OPM, other people's money, to pay off settlements. The American people, I think in both parties, they want more transparency and accountability in government across the board. And I'm going to promise you this. I'm going to stay on this issue, and others like it.
So, when Al Franken says, I want a Senate ethics committee to investigate me, I don't have a lot of hope in that. You know, why is it that I'm feeling a little bit, all right, so here is Twitter set ablaze after Congressional Office of Compliance releases year-by-year breakdown of settlements without details. As previously reported, Congress has a rampant sexual harassment problem. In fact, the problem is so bad that female lawmakers and aides have kept a creep list of men who are notorious for lewd behavior.
And we've covered this before, but it's worth bringing back to the forefront.
Well, now we have a release of the year-by-year breakdown of harassment settlements. In other words, and people are trying to guess the names. A new report by CNN exposes the D.C. swamp's very serious problem of powerful men preying on women. CNN spoke with over 50 current and former lawmakers, aides, and staff who have personally experienced sexual harassment. On the Hill are no people who have, but nobody is speaking out. Nobody's naming any names.
So the list exists, but there's not a name that goes with the list.
Here is number of settlements. 1997 was 6 for $39,000. 1998 was 16 for $100,000.
What happened in 2007 for $4 million?
Well, there was 25 cases in 2007. And you know what? Just this year alone, there's been 8 for close to $1 million.
Dang.
So, what is going on? I want to know where this money is coming from and what this hush money is all about. Could somebody explain this to me? I'm just kind of like, my jaw, if it could drop to the floor, you would have to pick it up again. Because what is this? How does this even exist in our world? You get to pay somebody off, you touch somebody, and you get to pay them like 20, 30 grand. Maybe Sydney wants to go upstairs. Maybe she needs to sleep. Maybe she's just as upset about it as we are. So, reporter Niles Linsky says the chart totals for settlements paid by the Congressional Office of Compliance include a variety of legislative branch agencies for a variety of reasons. I see this chart being shared without context. These totals for settlements paid by the Congressional Office of Compliance include a variety of legislative branch agencies for a variety of reasons. Twitter was set ablaze. What the heck happened?
Jeff Sessions is doing.
Now we know what Jeff Sessions is doing. He's settling these kind of settlements.
Everybody keeps asking what the heck happened in 2007. Dennis Hassert left in 2007.
Will says that Sydney was petted against her will when she was a pup, and she wants justice.
Yes. Settlement with the AOC of a complaint alleging serious health and safety hazards in the U.S. Capitol power plant utility funnels. In case you are wondering what happened in 2002, it was probably related to the irradiating of mail after the anthrax scare. So, we need to know the names of victims. It could be a number of things, but we
So
want to
Mr.
know.
Doug 41 says, I heard tomorrow another scandal is going to be revealed, and it's a Democrat per Twitter.
That would be Mike Cernovich, who tweeted out a couple times that a certain Democrat, we don't know who, is going to have a very bad day. So I also want to show you how MSNBC has been covering Al Franken and really covering it up. She calls it a mock groping.
And she says that he wrote a part into their skit that required him to kiss her, and that he tried to rehearse the kiss backstage that made her uncomfortable. And then she also published a picture that was given to her of her asleep with Senator Franken mock groping her. So in a statement, Senator Franken's office apologized to Leanne.
The office
Tweeden,
apologized.
and I'm going to read you this statement here. It says, quote, I certainly don't remember.
So they're calling it a mock
Well, also,
groping.
though, you didn't catch, he says, I certainly don't remember the rehearsal of the skit the same way. She is saying that he tried to kiss her and it made her uncomfortable. And so, he denied it. Yeah. Right off the bat, he is saying, I don't remember it happening that way.
So, just to sum this up, a couple more things. The judge declares a mistrial in Mendenez case. We talked about that. So he cried tears, blah, blah, blah. This is the Roy Moore accuser who says she got him
anyway, I just thought
banned from the mall.
Just didn't believe children when they came out and said anything.
Let's see.
Yeah, but I did not feel comfortable with him. And, it was every time he was in the mall, and of course this was also on Friday and Saturday nights, so if we were going to be busy, we were kind of busy on Friday and Saturday nights, so I certainly didn't want someone hanging around my counter to get me in trouble or to get me fired. So I went to my manager and talked to him about it and asked him, basically what could, be done, and later on he said that he came back by through my department and told me that he had been banned from the mob. I've repeated this story during my lifetime, during this time many times. People who know me know that what I've always said about him, and that he was not Christian and that he was a pervert. It needs to come out. People want to know, well, why did these women wait for...
So her view of pervert is a guy who asked her out and chit-chatted with her. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a low bar of perversion.
I agree.
All right, so Bill Clinton is getting bad press from the left because a seat is up for grabs in the Senate. They will go back to defending him right after the election. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to end with this. Larry Elder, if you guys aren't following him on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook, he is a righteous, awesome, well-spoken, conservative man who happens to be black, and he is on fire. He's a spitfire, actually. He was actually fired from his radio program for talking too much about Bill Clinton. This is what he tweeted out today. In the spirit of our positive discussion, I point out that from about 3 to 9, Larry is again talking about Kathleen Wiley and Juanita Broderick and Monica Lewinsky and Paula Jones, and somehow linking Hillary Clinton and James Carville to Bill Clinton being a rapist and a sexual harasser. Well, actually, if you are married to a rapist and a sexual harasser, you're kind of linked.
Yeah.
Like
as far as I'm concerned, marriage means that you become one with that person.
So he got fired for that.
And here's the thing. If they do something while you're married that is wrong,
right,
then you divorce them to say, I don't agree with this.
Right. I want to give you the definitive take on Bill Clinton. Now,
I have two playing, sorry.
And believe me, you've never heard this.
Sorry, it was so loud.
5 minutes of a take that you've never heard. Sit down, try to devoid yourself of anything you've ever heard about Bill Clinton. I know you love him. I know that he's been called the president of the world by people like the guy over on MSNBC, Hee-Haw, Chris Matthews. But I just want you to set everything aside and try to listen to me, if you could, objectively for 5 minutes. Point number one. Let's just talk about the women. Juanita Broderick is a woman who used to run nursing homes in Arkansas. She went on Dateline NBC. Did you forget about this? And she alleged that Bill Clinton, who was then the Attorney General, raped her. Not attempted rape, raped her. Now, we're watching all these women who are in the military right now testify about the allegations that they were sexually assaulted. Many of them never reported anything. We believe them, as I think we ought to. But Juanita Broaddrick is like a dead fly. Nobody even thinks about her. She wasn't writing a book. Bill Clinton was also accused of sexual assault or sexual battery by Kathleen Willey. Remember when she went on 60 Minutes? Ed Bradley interviewed her, and she said that Bill Clinton took her hand and put it on his erect genitalia. And Ed Bradley, the correspondent who interviewed her, said, was he aroused? She said he was. That's a sexual battery. And the next day, I think it was, Gloria Steinem, the feminist, wrote a piece that was published in the New York Times that said, frankly, that wasn't sexual harassment. And she said the reason it wasn't sexual harassment is because when Bill Clinton did what he did, she said, assuming everything that Kathleen Willey says is true, when Bill Clinton did what he did, he then stopped after she protested. So therefore it wasn't sexual harassment. Are you kidding me? In other words, if I see an attractive, fulsome woman walking down the street, I can put my hand on where I ought not put it, and when she objects, as long as I remove it, I'm home free?
No.
My point is, this is the pretzel into which people twisted themselves to defend this man. Finally, sexual harassment. Paula Jones. Paula Jones said he took his hand and put it up her dress. She was an employee of the government, and she claims after she resisted him, she was adversely affected at work because of this. That was why there was this whole lawsuit against him, which, by the way, the Supreme Court ruled could proceed even though Bill Clinton was in office. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously the lawsuit could proceed. So you had, on the one hand, Bill Clinton being investigated for Whitewater. I won't bore you with that. On the other hand, you have this lawsuit. Well, they both cracked into each other, and the prosecutor named Ken Starr was informed of this allegation that Bill Clinton had had this affair with his intern. Now, the reason this was important for Paula Jones is that she was arguing that Bill Clinton did this. He was denying it. How do you prove sexual harassment? You prove it by something called quid pro quo and by past practices and future practices.
Exactly.
And so it's important that you have yet another woman who works for him, Monica Lewinsky, apparently being rewarded for sexual entreaties for Bill Clinton. Paula Jones was punished. That's why the lawsuit was going on. My point is really this. I don't want to get this too confusing. 3 different women have made 3 very serious allegations against him. Rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. But we don't even care. Herman Cain, remember when he was running for a Republican nomination for president? 3 women came forward and said that he had had an affair with them. Not that he had raped them, not that he had sexually assaulted them, not that he had sexually harassed them, but that he had had an affair. He was gone.
Just for having an affair.
Why is there no fly zone over Bill Clinton? It blows my mind. And yet you have Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairwoman of the DNC, blasting away at Republicans. Why? Because they're waging a war against women. Todd Aiken, remember the Democrat that used the term legitimate rape? He gets run out of town for using the term legitimate rape. He was never accused of rape. Okay, second thing about Bill Clinton. I guess the reason he gets this pass is because the economy did so well under his watch, and it did. But does he deserve all the credit? Remember, the first 2 years of his presidency, he governed the way Obama...
So I'm going to stop that there, and...
That's well said.
Yeah.
I'm glad he brought that.
So I think... Oh, and one more thing. Here he is groping Joy Behar, and Joy Behar has said, you know, I can't stand beside Al Franken. He was funny then, but, you know, she knows what he is and who he's like. And
right.
She says she can't stand beside him, but...
Did you say what he is and who he's like?
Yeah.
Who he is and what he's like?
So sexual predators always stick together. You have Bill Clinton and Harvey Weinstein, Bill Clinton and Al Franken, Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. And then a lot of millennials don't remember. I don't really want to play this part, but you can just play it. This is Bill Clinton lying under oath and his whole debacle there. So we are actually going to...
We're going to make this its own segment.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of regular news that we want to cover.
Real stuff.
And so we're going to come back. I just have to upload a picture, put a new description in, be back in like 3 minutes. And
come back. We're going to talk about Libya's slave auctions and what Hillary knew. We're going to talk about the Uranium One deal, Saudi Arabia going to war with Iran, craziness.
Gallery.
Just stress the fact that this is a guy who wants to Google. We're all being Googled because people like this.
Right.
Right.
They don't want the truth to come out of anything.
Bingo.
Exactly. There's a we're going to talk about Twitter and censoring too when we come back.
Yes, that's a big topic. All right, you guys. So we're going to sign off here. Come back in like 3 minutes. This is Leah Michelle for Resistance Chicks, where it is
not a conspiracy, just a conspiracy if it's the truth.
Conspiracy theory. Can't you say our slogan right just like one time?
Didn't I say it right?
Almost. It was close.
Okay.
You guys know how it goes.
This is like a commercial break.
It is. It's like a
Go to the bathroom,
intermission.
come
We
back
have
for a second.
the epic 1940s.
It'd be cool if we were like actually selling
music.
something for like 2 minutes, but we're not. I'm kidding.
Yes, we are.
We
you
are.
guys need to go to Maia's Facebook page, ME Healthy Products. And she gave me a series of amazing healthy products for my birthday. And we have decided that it is going to be our flagship. Where since we don't sell anything, if you guys want to support us, then just go and support Maia at ME Healthy Products on Facebook. I'm going to put that in the description later once we finish everything up. And oh, look, here they are. We should just keep them on the desk. Pain Be Gone, salve.
Soap. I can just smell. I wish you could smell it through here.
Lavender
Smells like
lotion. The deodorant Leah knows really well because she stole my deodorant. Natural sunscreen.
Smells awesome.
As soon as I opened up my P.O. box, all I could smell was licorice. We have anise.
Bug
soap.
off lotion.
That's
I actually
right.
make my own, but I don't have any citronella in it. It's just citronella, rosemary, lavender. So you want to get those bad chemicals out of your body.
Exactly.
And Maia's.
I hope I don't ruin something here, but Maia has a someone that she knows. No, I'm just going to say it. Her brother is Say Perfect, and he has an absolutely fun channel. He's putting out new videos just for fun. Literally, he's a comedian, and they are hilarious. So Say Perfect, could you please comment here? And I want you guys to go and subscribe to Say Perfect's channel. We bring a lot of harsh stuff, and Say Perfect is hilarious. He'll bring a little bit of laughter to your day. All right, you guys, signing off for Resistance Chicks. We love you. God loves you. God bless. Be back in like 3,
2, 1.